Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
I can hear you.
Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA credit.
We're here. I don't know.
Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise.
It's always me. Don't know that about it.
Always
Our gridiron sponsors
probably
are
nobody.
That's
what.
Silverback Concrete, Ruse Over State Farm Insurance, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okito America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733.
I mean, I can hear y'all.
If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is PodUp with Matthews in the morning. It is a live version. On a Tuesday, we'll have Buddy Martin. We'll have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Edgar wants to recap what all went on in Destin last week. Tremendous day on the diamond for both softball and baseball. Softball will play to get to the National Championship Series against the Sooners at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, weather permitting. And then the Gators, that everybody had them for dead, are heading to Clemson, South Carolina to face the Tigers. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. It's our man, Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. Good morning, buddy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's one of the best Mondays I've had in a long time. Shane, I don't remember the last time I watched this much TV over a period of 3 days. Never mind the sport. I mean, it's probably the Masters when I just hunker down and watch it. Well, I'm telling you, I bounce around on TV. And by the way, if you can figure out a way to have ESPN do a better job of letting us know where the games are, because weather delays just causes a game of TV hopscotch. Oh, they're over there. Oh, they're over here. Oh, they're over here. I'll be about, trying to find the game wears you out. But what a day it was for the games. And it was just, I've come to the conclusion that there are more Cinderellas in baseball and softball than there are in the NCAA basketball tournament. I mean, man, oh man, the players that stepped up to some people haven't seen before, and yet some new ones for us as well. I mean, who knew Wilson was the hitter he was? Just has been so many good stories, and Brandon Neely had got brand new respect the way he pitched. Just two wonderful stories, and now 2 p.m. today, they get to finish off the rest of this story, Shane.
Yes, they do. We got a bunch of texts to get here. on the Titan MR text line. First, let me get a Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law. John says, everyone will want to talk about Sully managed his pitching staff, but what about Ashton Wilson? This kid only had 6 at-bats all year. What a story. Yeah, it was a tremendous story, no question.
Yeah, he was, by the way, it's not only is it a great story, but just in, he was named the MVP in Stillwater. Here's a guy who wasn't playing, 6 games ago? And now he's the MVP of the regional, and going now to have a chance to win a World Series. This guy's, what talk about it in Cinderella. They don't get much more Cinderella than that, Shane.
No, they don't. Let's get to some text on the Titan MR text line. We got a bunch of them here. This one is from 941. He says, "Go Gators, baseball team and Dr. Joe from Peachland Dental. Got to see him just the other day. Best dentist around." Yeah, Joe Lawson's a good dude. He's been a sponsor of this program for a long, long time. This is Matt. Matt says, "Great weekend, albeit a long Saturday for the Gator Diamond Sports. Would be great to hear from Nick Belboni prior to the Supers. Any chance of having him on? We can try to do that for sure." 904 says, "An elite team beat a very elite team yesterday. Way to go, Gators." This text on the Titan MR text line from Roger says, "What team was the Cinderella story in OKC? Come on, buddy."
What team was?
Sure.
I'm talking to you. I guess you obviously didn't hear what I said. I talked about the individuals here. Okay.
Oh, individuals. Okay, gotcha. I don't know. That's what he texts.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't say what team was. I said the Cinderella stories, they're not just a team, they're individuals. And we had them all over the place. I mean, especially the baseball team. And of course, we knew. Anyway, folks, listen to what I'm saying. Okay. Listen to what I'm saying. Don't make up stuff.
Yeah. We'll also talk with Edgar Thompson a little bit. The Gators got a quarterback recruit commit from the 2026 class, big quarterback, 6'3", 225, Will Griffin out of Tampa Jesuit. All right, buddy, in your thoughts, watching both baseball and softball, which surprised you the most?
Well, I mean, you have to say Ashton Wilson would be right up there, but I tell you, Brandon Neely's pitching performance was textbook. I mean, you couldn't have drawn it up better for the guy to come in and relief. It was the 4th inning, pitched the game of his life, 11 strikeouts against a really good team, and went right at them. And he was steel nerved. You know, these games, they're nerve-wracking. I think softball more nerve-wracking than baseball. But you think, well, they're getting ready to tee this guy up because, you know, he hasn't been consistent. He went in there, he looked dominant. I mean, as Franz Beard said, he made himself a bunch of money. So that to me was remarkable. And there were so many other big plays and things that went on. I mean, the Kendra Falvey playing softball was just incredible. You know how hard that play was to make? And then to come back the next inning, you have a inside the park home run. It was classic. She was the Cinderella story, although we know what a great player she is. So I think probably the Neely thing surprised me the most.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great individual performances by both teams yesterday. Softball was quite something. There's no question. As baseball, I don't think anybody anticipated baseball getting out of that regional. You know, I think a lot of people thought softball would get to Oklahoma City. Now they're one game away from playing for the national title. Gary on the Titan MR text line says, "Buddy, do you think the midweek games matter now?" Everybody's piling on you today, buddy.
I'm not going to keep doing this, but yes, they do matter. Okay, just because you're in the look, a lot of things matter. The midweek games do matter. Are they the key? No. So I'm not going to change my story, folks. You can come at me 100 different ways. I stand by the fact that every game matters. Now, are they the key to winning the World Series? No. It's just that I care, okay? So come at me, complain. I would do it all over the same way. I'd say the same thing. I'm not going to change.
This is an interesting stat from our great listeners because they throw stats at us all the time. John on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, says 12 out of the 16 teams that have advanced to the Super Regionals have never won a College World Series title.
What? Say it again. I didn't quite understand that.
So there's 16 teams left playing college baseball.
Yeah.
Only 4 of those 16 have won a title, a national title.
Oh, I thought I said none. Okay, 4. All right.
No, 12 out of the 16 have never won.
Okay.
So I'm trying to – I don't have the bracket in front of me. Obviously, Florida's one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if North Carolina has ever won. I know Virginia has. They're playing. But I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to waste time talking about something that I can't see. Joseph says, midweek games do matter, buddy. You're at least right about that. But that softball team is elite no matter what you say.
Okay. All right. Well, they have become, again, elite without question. And I'll go back to this one more time, and I'm as tired of it as you are, making the statement about how long does the elite tag work. Gator football was elite at one time. Is it elite now? I'm in the business of looking at trends. I don't wait 20 years after it happens and then make the comment. The trend was things were not trending well for Sully and for obviously Tim 13, 14 games ago. I don't care what you say. Go back and look at it. Look at some of the
buddy. That's not a true statement. Tim Walton. They've lost 12 games this year total.
Okay, but hold on, Shane. You're asking me in a moment to make a discussion. I can roll back to the tape and go back when you asked me how things were going. I said I'm disappointed in some of the things that are happening with the softball team and the
baseball. They had like 5 losses. They had like 5 losses,
all
period.
Right. Look, Shane, how much clearer can it be than this? It's talking about expectations. If the expectation is for Florida to win 8 or 9 football games in the fall, if they lose 3 of the first 6, that's not trending well. Okay, that means you're hardly going to be, elite at that point in time. So you can talk about making a call. Look, at halftime, you may say Florida's defense thinks they're horrible. They'll never win another game, and they can win the game in the second half. Things change when you're in the reporting and the predicting business and trying to measure the temperature of a situation. You make an assessment. All right, maybe I was wrong at that time. That's how I felt. And I'll always say how I felt when I think at that time. And so at that point in time, the word elite, you can play with the semantics any way you want to. My job is not here to sit here and talk about how wonderful every program is. It's about to say, well, here's how things are going. As I said yesterday, things are going great right now, okay? And I would certainly say there have been times when, yes, baseball's been elite, softball's been elite, basketball's been football, but when does that end and when does it begin? My job is to measure the temperature and make a statement, okay?
I'm gonna say my 2 cents and be done with this. Football is not elite because we've had multiple coaches, okay?
All
right. Was there a time period
now, if they go out and win a national championship in 2 years, you're going to be made fun of.
I'm not because elite is when you are good for a long period of time. So we're talking baseball and softball. We're talking. I've already said that we're not good. I don't care if we win 10 games this year. We're not back being elite. When you do it for a long period of time, Tim Walton's been here 20 years. They've been to the World Series for 12. They won 2 national titles. That is elite. I don't care if they had 2 or 3 down years.
Okay, and I think if he wasn't, he's certainly trending that way. That's for sure.
Well, I see that. I'm just saying, in 20 years, it's one of the top 5 basic softball programs in America. Baseball. Sully's been here, I think, 17 years. They've been to 10 super regionals, multiple World Series, 1 national title. They're one of the top 5 baseball programs in America, regardless of how it goes year in and year out. I can promise you, if you polled America, softball, baseball, Florida will be in everybody's top 5.
All right, why don't we just have our own? Why don't we have our own elite poll, and we'll be able to settle it? Okay, it's because who says it? It's like, what's a major championship in golf? Okay, there are 4. You can say it all you want to. The Players' Championship is not one of the majors. That's the way it is. So, who wants to say it? What? How do you want to measure the elite? I mean, just because someone says they're elite or not? I mean,
No, my definition goes by periods of a long period of time, and I'm using softball and baseball as what to look at because you've had the same coach. Okay, Football, you can't do that. We've stunk in football. We've stunk in basketball. You look at what happens for a long period of time under one coach, and there is no question. There is no argument.
I'll accept your definition, and heretofore in the future on this program, when I refer to what is elite, I will use your rating. How's that?
There we go. Silverback concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. We got Buddy Martin here for a little bit longer. Then we'll have Edgar Thompson. We'll recap a lot of the stuff that went on in Destin. He was there. And Monty says this discussion is not elite. Well, Monty, you can watch another program, buddy. That's all I got to say. So, buddy, what do you?
What would Monty like it to be about? Let's get him. Choose the topic, Monty. Let's see what you got.
Well, we don't have. We don't. I mean, we're not worried about
what Monty thinks. Give us suggestions. You can help make the program instead of bitching and complaining. Come up with something.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the baseball team, because I think it's a tremendous story. Everybody had them dead, had no chance, shouldn't be in the postseason play, but having the number one schedule in America and the toughest conference, they get in and they go win. Now they are 2 games away from going to Omaha. What a story. Kevin O'Sullivan going back to where he started his coaching career at Clemson. Just your thoughts on all that, buddy.
It's a great story. It's a great story, and it's an amazing story. And I'm going to say what I said on the show last night with you. One thing about what makes what's so sweet about something is when you almost lose it. And when you're not the favorite team, when you're the underdog, when you're scrapping, you're fighting for everything you got, and some people dismiss you. There are people who actually wanted to fire Sully this year. I heard him. I read it. I know. No, I'm just saying.
Talking about fans?
Yeah, no, I'm saying there were people, fans or whatever, wanted to fire Sully. There's always going to be people like that. It's going to be, that's the way it is. Now I've lost my train of thought. The point is that it's really kind of a ridiculous discussion. What's going to be elite when we decide by the end of time? I don't think I'm going to be around at that point in time. Let's do this. Let's take what we got in front of us right now. A tremendous weekend. It was one of my favorite weekends of watching sports, Gator sports ever, to watch this. And it was nerve-wracking. Shout out to Kevin, shout out to the whole program, baseball, softball. It was fun to watch, nerve-wracking. And the point I wanted to make, I made it last night. One reason it was so sweet, not only did they win in 2 different sports on the same day, they in the postseason, but they were not expected to win in baseball. They were kind of in softball, but not against Oklahoma. I mean, what was the Patty Gasson stat? She was 52-0 against her former assistants. And Oklahoma had a 20-game postseason winning streak, not expected to win there. So what's so sweet about it is that you're not expected to. Like, if this year Florida goes out and wins 8 or 9 games, that's going to be an enjoyable season. So it's not just winning the championships. It's sometimes winning when you're not supposed to.
Yeah, and it's about being consistent. A consistent program is a winning program. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. 1984, 1960 champion Arnold Palmer fails to qualify for the U.S. Open Golf Championship for the first time in 32 years.
Remember it.
You would think if you win the U.S. Open that you would automatically get to play in it every year.
Well, you do for 10 years.
Yeah, I know, but that should be like a lifetime deal, in my opinion, if you win a major.
And the only Masters gives the lifetime, and they discourage you, by the way, at the end when you're 70 and you're playing and you can't hit the ball more than 200 yards. But no, you would think do you really want to see a bunch of guys my age out playing for a major championship? Not really. But anyway, it was Arnold Palmer was an amazing person, an amazing player. I knew him pretty well, amazing guy, fun to be around, elevated everybody around him. And when you talk about, as you said, they weren't that good back then. Well, maybe they weren't, but Arnie made them better. And so did Jack. And it was a privilege to watch players like Tiger anymore. They just don't come along anymore. So again, you tend to really appreciate it once you don't have it anymore.
Yeah, Tony says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, PGA Championship gets lifetime. All right, Joseph says, could South Carolina afford to make a run at Sully with their coaching vacancy now? Yes. I've also heard that the Auburn Tigers will be making a run at our softball coach.
Oh, really?
Also the Oklahoma State softball coach. Both, Kenny Gajewski. If I'm Kenny, I do not want to come to the SEC. I would stay at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And because you're going to win that conference every year now that OU and Texas are leaving.
Right.
So we're gonna probably need to pony up.
Well, that's what it's about, and they should. I mean, that's what the market is. It's all about saber rattling, contract time. Why would Kevin O'Sullivan go to South Carolina? He shouldn't, and he won't. But he should get more money.
Here's the only thing I can think of, buddy, and I'm just thinking outside the box here. Why did Orr leave the Florida Gators?
Well, the reason is he wasn't being respected by some people, and fans were wearing him out. And it's the same thing. He got to a point where he got sick and tired of it. If he didn't win a national championship, it was a failure, And he was doing great stuff still. And he knows now it was a mistake, and he said it was a mistake to do that. But you're right. It's a good comparison. It is. It could happen. I guess it depends on your station in life. Where are your kids in high school? Are they doing well? Do you like Gainesville? Are you being respected, being paid enough, all that? There's no reason in the world why Florida should ever let Kevin O'Sullivan go, especially to another SEC team.
Yeah, I don't think it will happen, but, people, as had they done all year long, questioned him, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, well, you wanted to get rid of him? Well, there's your chance. Go ahead and get it, then try to find a coach, okay? I mean, look, talk about me saying they're not elite. These people who want to get rid of Kevin O'Sullivan are out of their minds.
Yes, they are. Daryl in the Titan MR text line says, now all the naysayers will get back on the bandwagon for the Gator baseball. Just like anything else, let the season play out.
That's what they do. That's what they do. It's okay to be on the bandwagon. That's what fans do. It's a great bandwagon right now, by the way.
Yeah. Buddy, good stuff as always, my friend. Who you got on your program tonight?
I've got David Whitley, and we've got Coach Lauren Meadows, and some other guests you're going to enjoy. Check us out. We're rocking and rolling at 9:00 Eastern time every Monday through Friday, and it's good to be with you again, Shane. Thank you for your contribution last night.
Yes, sir. That's the great Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. Again, you can listen to him on YouTube, all those. Facebook, all that stuff, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to take a quick time out. We'll come back. We'll be joined by Orlando Sentinel's Edgar Thompson. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that went on and destined for the SEC meetings. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union.
Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Dave & Buster's Eat, Drink, Play, Watch. Our gridiron sponsors are UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Also want to give a shout out to one of our new sponsors, CertaPro Painters of Gainesville, CertaPro.com, the power of pro. Now we're going to go to another pro on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tim, and it's our man from the Orlando Sentinel, who I know he had to put on a lot of sunscreen at the beach in Destin. Edgar, what's happening, my man?
No sunscreen needed for a 60-degree room. They stick us in downstairs to keep us away from all the millionaire guests. But yeah, that's right, pretty much the trip to Destin, as you loiter around the halls looking like people are like, who are these guys? Get them out of here.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what went on there. What was the biggest thing, that you took away from the SEC meetings?
Well, the big theme is, how are they going to pay for this $2.77 billion? It's funny, I wrote about it on late last week and for Sunday's paper, and left out the billion. Kevin Brockway read it and was like, hey, you need to add $1 billion. So a $2.77 settlement, I think they'd be okay with, but $2.77 billion, which is going to be kind of spread between the NCAA and the Power 5 or Power 4 or whatever schools, Power 5, is going to put a strain on athletic departments of $20+ million annually. And this whole thing is a settlement on what could have been, I forget the exact total, but it could have been $5 billion, $4 billion, $5 billion on past antitrust lawsuits going back like 10 years, I guess, is the cutoff on what they owe former athletes. And it's just going to be onerous for a lot of departments. Now, the SEC will not struggle as much as other schools because the TV money that's coming in this year, the playoff, is going to increase it. And they're going to be able to eventually sell this 9th game, I think, to ESPN for several $1 million probably annually when they add it. But they're not going to 9 games at least till 2026. And that wasn't even really a discussion. It was funny, guys were like, yeah, we're not talking about the 8 to 9 games anymore because they're bigger issues to deal with now. But there's just going to have to be ways to make more revenue and to save, to cut expenses. And one thing I wrote about, Shane, is where does the, approach by Billy Napier, for example, fit in? Scott Strickland himself even said, I'm not convinced in adding another analyst or assistant coach increases revenues. And this is something Billy's, vision, and a lot of these coaches' vision. This isn't Billy. Billy didn't come up with this. It started with Nick Saban and others to have these massive support staffs that cost a lot of money. additionally, the walk-on program is, I'm not going to say costly, but it is cost money. It's not free to, take care of these guys, even though they're not on scholarship. And Billy wants 50 walk-ons. Well, another part of this whole settlement is going to be capping rosters. Now, I can't explain this that well, to be honest, but for example, you would have to cap football at whatever the number is going to be. The coach is currently 110 to 120. The Gator in the SEC, the Gators have 129 people on the roster right now. It's not going to continue. It's going to be 85, 90, 95. Sam Pittman said you probably need at least 100, the Arkansas coach, because you need guys to be able to practice, to help develop people, to deal with injuries. But let's say, and I know you want to weigh in on this, but let's say the number is 90. They aren't going to all be scholarship guys. They're going to be a limit on the scholarships, I think, but this is going to happen in other sports too. So let's say baseball's 25, you could make all of those scholarship athletes, or, volleyball's 15, all of them are in scholarship. Maybe they already are because of Title IX, but it's just going to be interesting. Now, the SEC, you're thinking, or a lot of people like, oh, they're going to have to cut some sports to reduce expenses. The SEC programs probably won't have to, or most won't. The biggest won't for sure, and Florida will not be cutting programs, I don't foresee. Anyway, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. It's very inside baseball, but it is going to be impactful and force Florida and others to find other revenue streams, including, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, the potential for sponsorships on the field, on jerseys even, which we're seeing in the NBA and other sports, but a big logo instead of the Gator head on the center of the field, could be NVIDIA or whatever it's going to be, or selling the rights to the stadium that are kind of Ben Hill Griffin's family in perpetuity, I guess that's the word. So how do you negotiate that so you can actually throw, Steve Spurrier Florida Field at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium by NVIDIA? I keep going back to NVIDIA because they sponsor the AI center here, and one of the three founders is a UF graduate. So there's a lot of going on here, financial, and it's going to play out pretty quickly because they want to have all this in place by 2025 fall for these athletes, because there's going to be the revenue sharing aspect and all that too for the 2020, the 22 billion million or 20 million or whatever it's going to be is going to be the annual revenue share. Plus they're going to have to be paying all this back. It's just a mess, man. And I'm kind of explaining it a little bit, but it is going to be a financial obligation these guys didn't see coming necessarily, or maybe did, but now it's here.
Brian asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, I get the sense that there is just so much going on in college football is completely out of control. It's not just football, it's about every sport. Was there anyone in Destin who has a serious, agreeable plan for getting a handle on things? Just feels like a lot of hemming and hawing and no aggressive solutions. Or aggressive plan. I'll let you touch on that in just a second. But I have a couple questions for you, Edgar. When you talked about, now the universities are going to be paying the players from all sports. We do know that Billy has a bunch of analysts. Do you see some of those analyst positions, them getting rid of them?
Well, as I said, the quote from Scott Strickland, which I actually will read for you here, because the story I wrote yesterday explains it. The revenue sharing, I'm conflating things. They have this big bill coming for past athletes. They also, and then you have the revenue sharing situation, which is 20 plus going to these guys. But it is going to alter, and girls, it's going, and that's the other thing. How do you like decide who gets paid what? I mean, you have Title IX. You can't just give it all to football players, you know?
Right.
So you got all that, but for example, so Scott was talking about so Billy Napier's blueprint and master plan has involved, you know, this robust walk-on program and this massive support staff totaling, you know, dozens of people. I looked the other day, it's about 60 people and on the support staff. Now, you got to think that's going to be curtailed a bit. But you know, you're looking at a process that's going to take several months for them to figure out the specifics here. I mean, I know where Brian's coming from, but this just passed like 2 weeks ago, Thursday. So he says we're going to have to rip open, doing a total autopsy of every single part of our program. That's Scott Strickland. What Trev Alberts did at Texas A&M, who had the quote of the week where he said, we've never had a revenue problem, we've had an expense problem. He came in and got rid of a lot of long-standing, high-ranking kind of athletic department people with big salaries and probably gave them nice golden parachutes and, you know, told them, thanks for everything. But so Trev Alberts has already made cuts, but I don't know how big Texas A&M's program was relative to Florida's, relative to others. Maybe it was the biggest and they had more room to cut. But here's Scott. If you look at it from just a revenue place, by having another coach, another analyst, does it grow our revenue number? I don't think it does. Now, does that mean you stand pat on your hand and enough's enough and you can have this but no more? Or does it mean you have too many? That's the question. And these things are going to be decided in time. But it's going to take a forensic accountant to ultimately figure out how to nip tuck this thing down to the bone. But there probably are some obvious ones, and I'm not going to say who or what because I don't know. But there probably are obvious cuts that Scott has in mind. But then it's going to take some surgery to kind of get it down to the number that they really want to ultimately do. And this is coming from an athletic department, by the way, Shane, that earned $190 million in revenues in 2022-23, which was 8th nationally. You know, Alabama's AD, Greg Byrne, he's like, when Alston, which was the ruling that allowed schools to pay athletes $5,900 plus annually, the Alston case versus the NCAA, he goes, I didn't bellyache. When unlimited meals came along, I was like, fine, it's going to cost some money, but it's about time. He goes, this is different. This is a lot of money. And this is coming from Alabama that is, I think, earned $211 million last year in revenue. So these are the massive programs that are going to have issues. What are the other smaller athletic departments in the country facing? I don't know, because I can't get my mind around what Florida's quite facing yet.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and we've been discussing the last couple of weeks about, you know, some of the non-revenue sports going away. And you mentioned it earlier in the program that you don't think the schools like Florida and stuff will, but don't you think, like, I mean, let's use women's basketball, soccer, lacrosse. You know, there's no money generated at all of those, but when you got this 20-something million that, whether it's Florida, whatever athletic program it is, dishing this money out to pay the athletes, it's going to ruffle some feathers, right? If some of those sports aren't getting any of that money.
They're going to have to, I think, based on Title IX. They're going to have roster caps, and they're going to try to even that out. Football just makes it problematic and always has, because it's 85 scholarships. And you're starting there, and you got to try to catch up with the women's scholarships to that. And then also balance that with men's tennis, men's golf, and baseball, you know, men's basketball. I'm trying to think, what are the other men's sports? Track. But men's sports over the years, so I was at New Mexico. That's where I got my degree. I covered sports in that area for a long time. They had a great men's gymnastics program, like really good. I'm sure that doesn't exist there anymore. And there were very few even then. Wrestling. How many schools have wrestling? Did Florida ever have wrestling?
Yeah.
Did Florida have wrestling back in the day?
I don't think they do now. If they do, it's a club
Did
sport.
they ever? I don't know. I mean,
I have no idea either.
volleyball, men's volleyball exists, but that's West Coast. You have water polo. I mean, whatever. Now I'm going off on tangents, but the point is, New Mexico had sports, wrestling, gymnastics, these things in the men's side that no longer exist, I'm sure. And that's been happening. Programs have been cutting, men's swimming I left out. Men's swimming is a great program here. I don't think they're going to, that's just the culture of this athletic department established from decades and really, supercharged by Jeremy Foley. So I don't think Scott Strickland is thinking, oh yeah, we got to start cutting, men's sports. He'll probably do everything to prevent that, but how big is that athletic department and the staff? I don't know. I mean, is that bloated? Because a lot of these departments, let's be honest, hired tons of people because there was tons of money to spend. So you spend what you got. Most people know that in general. You get a raise, you spend more money, right? You get more money coming in, you're spending more money. And they have, and they've spent pretty freely over there. And they still here's a difficult situation potentially too, or it is. You have the swamp renovation coming down the pike. Conservatively, that's $400 million. That's the baseline for what that's going to be. It's probably going to be 50% more than that if you do it right, and could be double if you really did it the right way. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't have the plans in front of me, and maybe this is going to change those a bit too, alter them somewhat. But you're having to raise money for that, raise money to pay these pool of athletes, or for this pool of money to pay athletes. And another one that was brought up, Shane, and I know this has been talked about a lot on here and everywhere, is these collectives, which have created problems at places other than Florida, but certainly the high-profile Jaden Rashada situation kind of stemmed from collective activity behind the scenes. What's going to happen with collectives? Because a lot of these departments want to bring NIL under that umbrella of the athletic department and eliminate this third-party involvement. But you're going to need money raised too on top of this to pay athletes NIL and stuff, because I don't think NIL is going anywhere.
No, not at all. Tropical Smoothie, live a healthier lifestyle with our bowl flavored smoothies and our amazing food. Tropical Smoothie, when you eat better, you feel better. Got a few more minutes with Edgar Thompson on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Let's get to some of these texts on the Titan MR text line. This is from 904. It says, the Titan MRI Stadium at Ben Hill Griffin Spurrier Field. Yeah, Joe does. I don't know if Joe wants to put his name on the stadium, but he's doing a great job. I know, help raise money for softball. All right, his question also, what's wrong with making college football like the NFL with 53-man rosters and a practice squad? I brought that up last week. The problem is the difference if you have multiple injuries, okay, that just decimate your team. In the NFL, you can go to the waiver wire and sign a guy for a week or two. You wouldn't be able to do that in college football. However, there may be dudes sitting in the portal, but that would be the only issue there.
Well, the other issue, Shane, the other issue that coaches explain real quickly, I mean, and Will Muschamp always used the expression, this is a developmental game. Guys aren't as ready. You got 18-year-olds coming on campus. They're not ready to play.
True. Yep, that's a great point. A lot of people said David says Florida had an incredible wrestling program that was cut in 1974.
Ah.
So, all right. Here's a text for you from Jared on the Titan MR text line. Jared's in Savannah, Georgia. Said, Edgar, any update on the Rashada lawsuit?
Not that I'm aware of, but bracing for anything. I just don't know what's going to happen. Billy addressed that in Destin, by the way. First question out of the gate, I was like, let's address the elephant in the room, Billy. And the Jaden Rashada case, how comfortable are you with your role in that whole situation. And he's like, thanks for the question, which often means wish he hadn't asked it, but he actually meant that, because I think it gave him the chance to say that he is comfortable with the way he handled it, that he did. He says, mistakes were made clearly, but I don't think he feels he made any. The big question with Billy's involvement is the legitimacy of the claim that he made a phone call on signing day saying Hugh Hathcock was going to wire Jaden Rashad, his father and family, and Jaden $1 million. That was the one that kind of was like, whoa. Because my impression was always that Billy didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes. And then when he caught wind of it, was like, no, we're not doing this. So don't know. But it just, was filed a week ago, right? Or was it 2 weeks ago today? Excuse me, 2 weeks ago today.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. Yeah, so we'll see what
Slow wheels of justice,
how it turns
guys.
out.
Slow wheels of justice, but I don't think they're settling as we speak or anything. I think this is going to play out. I think Florida has like till next, or Billy Napier, I think has till like sometime in July to like respond to, with a legal brief or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a settlement either, personally. So we'll see. Edgar, switching gears a little bit. Yesterday was a pretty good day for Gator Nation on the Diamonds. I don't know if you watched baseball or softball, but
watched both.
Any comments on? Yeah, it was pretty phenomenal stuff.
Look, I'm into the softball and have been for a number of years. I find the game. I find it exciting. I'm not the biggest baseball guy, but I'm not the most patient individual either. That's more of a slow burn of a sport. And I love golf. So, people laugh at me. Like, if I'm not saying baseball is boring, it's just a slower burn. Softball is a little more fast paced. I like the energy. The team's fun to deal with. Tim Walton, I get along with well. He's kind of a big, kind of gruff guy, but he's also kind of a teddy bear, particularly with his players. I think they really love him, and vice versa. There's a lot of, there's a good vibe around that program. That Saturday was a dark day. 17-1 combined score. Texas run rolled the Gators 10-0. Oklahoma State whipped the baseball team 7-1. You're thinking, yeah, this is coming to an end soon. Well, not so fast. The Gator baseball team rallied, came up through the losers bracket, beat Oklahoma State twice, got young pitchers going, got some play out of nowhere with some of these players. Who's the guy? Is it Ashton Miller? Is that his name?
Ashton, I can't even think of his name right now. He came out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, and he came out, Ty Evans breaks his wrist, and Yost, blows out his ACL. It's Austin Wilson, and he's an Orlando kid via Charleston Southern. I'd like to write about him this week. In fact, if the team actually makes it back through Gainesville, which I assume it will before going to Clemson, which Clemson had been a super regional since 2010. Sully's been to about 8 since then. But I tell you, they've had tough times in the regionals. 2021 is when they lost to South Alabama 19-1. That was a low point. And this team looked like it had gone even lower. Barely gets in the field. Looks like, it's just playing out the string. And now here we are going to a super regional. So, and then softball plays Oklahoma today. Yesterday beat them 9-3. The Sooners. That was Oklahoma's first loss in 20 College World Series games. They have not lost back-to-back games since the 2019 final against UCLA, and are 3-time defending champions. Did not throw their best pitcher yesterday, I don't believe. So Florida will be facing Oklahoma's top pitcher in Rothrock, who's been a rock, might make her 14th straight start. And how much fuel does she have left in the tank? But it's going to be interesting. They're hitting. The bats have warmed up after getting shut out by Texas. 20 hits, 4 homers the last 2 games. Skylar Wallace had 2 yesterday, and Kender Falvey had one of the best sequences you'll ever see. I mean, the catch she made in center field was like Jim Edmonds, like Willie Mays, like even, you know, with all due respect. And then she hits inside the park home run where they put a GPS on her or something, if you saw that, Shane, where she was almost hitting 19 miles an hour running. I mean, that young woman could beat pretty much anyone we know in a race. So it was fun. We'll see what happens today.
Yeah, as soon as that outfielder dove and missed it, I was like, inside the Parker.
Yeah, she's fast,
she
man.
can fly. She can fly. Edgar, we had a couple of texts on the Titan Mar text line, a couple of gentlemen referring to maybe coaches need to take a pay cut. And I don't know if they were just talking about Florida, but here's the deal. Do college coaches in the SEC, head football coaches, make a lot of money? Yes. I don't know if cutting Billy's $7 million salary is going to help, would help at all, but some of these kids are making more than the coaches now.
Yeah, I don't know about making more than Billy, but they're making more than the guys.
Not more than Billy. I'm talking about more than the.
No, they're making more than their assistants. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, Billy and I were talking. We were talking. Matt Baker of Tampa Bay Times was there, who, by the way, got a score with Ben Sass, who all of us have been trying to get Ben Sass to say something about, you know, just commenting on his vision for athletics, not anything controversial. Certainly, if he wants to weigh in on Billy, Scott, the direction of the program, whatever he wants to say, great, we'll write it. But he got a burr under his saddle about this walk-on program. And I had to leave and come back just because I was staying one night. It was like a whirlwind over and back basically in 30 hours to Destin. It was a pretty taxing little deal. But Matt was still floating around. Ben Sass came by, he approached him, and he said, I might have something for you. Next thing you know, Matt Baker's on the phone with his PR guy and President Sass, and he's like talking about how this walk-on thing, these people have clearly, these jackwagon lawyers have never clearly watched Rudy. They're trying to kill Rudy or whatever. It was a pretty inflammatory quote. It was good. But yeah, so it's touching some emotions there. But in terms of talking to Billy, we were asking about first-year players are unavailable to speak. And I'm like, Billy, most of these kids are making more than Matt Baker and I now. And he laughed. So possible we're going to start talking to first-year players, I think, after they put a semester of time in at UF. We'll see how that plays out. So guys like DJ Lagway, LJ McCray might be heard from next season if they're playing. We'll have to see what TBD on that. But yeah, in terms of cutting, you know, I don't know where they're going to do it. And it's certainly going to be something to watch. And it's not fun to see. I've been on the other side of that. You know, you don't want your job in jeopardy or being, you know, you see colleagues taking buyouts or getting laid off. And this has happened through our industry for years now, so that people are numb to it. Well, it's coming for college sports, it appears now. And I'm not, you know, these departments have gotten huge and these staffs have gotten huge. And maybe there is some financial or fiscal responsibility that needs to be shown now that you're on the hook for 20-some% of your budget annually now.
Yeah. Well, good stuff as always, Edgar. We appreciate your time. I'll let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter.
OS Gators. Appreciate it, Shane. Thanks for the time. We'll talk again soon.
All right, that's Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Join us on the Titan Number hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Speaking of Comfort Temp Heating and Air is looking for an enthusiastic, motivated comfort specialist to join our team. A $1,000 sign-on bonus after 90 days. Awesome benefits and the opportunity to grow with a winning team. Apply today at comforttemp.com. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Again, thanks to Edgar and Buddy Martin. Good luck to the Lady Gators in OKC today against the Sooners. And hopefully we'll be talking about a trip to the finals and playing for a national championship tomorrow. Have a great day, folks. Take care.